So the patch notes for the live fire Titanfall 2 update are now out, and there are two main things to take away from this at the moment. The first is that we still don't have a date of when the update will actually go live, and the second is that the Tone Titan is getting what I believe to be quite a significant nerf. So let's dive in and see exactly what is being added and what is changing. So the changes they're making to matchmaking are what I think is a good thing. We can see here that the changes will allow you to select the modes you want to play and actually find games in them. This, along with a featured playlist system, will make the game a lot more interesting for people like myself, who due to geographical location can only get games of attrition on my local servers. The fact that Respawn is actually trying to fix this issue is probably the single most exciting thing about this update for me. Then of course is the live fire game mode itself, the centerpiece of this update. This 6v6 elimination game mode is designed to be fast, round based, but unfortunately doesn't feature any Titans. It will be included only as a rotating featured playlist, and I think that although it will certainly be fun, Titanfall 2 at its core is about the Titans. That's what makes it different. So I think making more content that excludes them might be going down the wrong path. Anyway, we'll have to wait and see how the mode feels at its mystery date of release. We also get a new execution, which is pretty standard, and another Colosseum map, which very few people will care about. We get some new faction intros, which will make those dropship intros more exciting than they are now. Well, at least I hope. Now the patch notes that were linked in the blog post list a number of other features, as shown here. More customization for gamepad and heads-up display is always welcome, and a community component of the FAQ screen in-game could have some good potential. There are a host of improvements around Holopilot tactical ability, hopefully making it more deceptive, and also no Zardon Prime Titans, which is awesome. When this update is released, you also won't be able to charge your Titan drop meter off nuclear eject damage, which will hopefully stop people from using that not very powerful but very irritating perk. Now let's talk about the meaty stuff, the balances to Titans and the weapons. Tone gets hit hard. I think very hard. But she also gets some small buffs, so let's start with them. There is no longer any missile damage fall off for rockets in her salvo core, which makes sense because they are rockets. She also gets some improvements to the burst loader perk, but we don't know what they are yet, so it doesn't really mean that much. However, let's talk about that storm on the horizon for those Tone pilots out there. First off, she loses some salvo core damage. We don't know how much yet, but we will be able to tell you as soon as the patch is released. This makes sense as her core was generally much more devastating than most other Titans, and will almost certainly offset the removed damage fall off at range. The cooldown of Sonar Pulse has also been increased, which isn't devastating, but it isn't helpful either. Additionally, the update says the projectile size of the 40mm cannon has been reduced. Wait a minute, what? Does that make it a 35mm cannon? A 30mm cannon? What I think they really mean by this is that damage radius of the explosion the 40mm cannon creates has been decreased. Thus the ease with which Tone could pop pilots has been reduced, and also it will make it a lot harder to mark multiple enemy Titans simultaneously, which is kind of exactly the Tone nerf that I always thought was needed. Now the final nerf she faces come the update is not one I thought was needed, and I think it might go a little bit too far. It says, leaving ADS now clears the charges. This I believe refers to the partial locks you must acquire before shooting missiles, meaning Tone will suffer immensely at close range. This could make it very difficult to get missiles off unless you fully commit to locking a single target. You won't be able to sprint in between starting to acquire a lock and shooting the missiles either, because that requires you leaving your ADS. This could be a major problem for Tone. Regardless, in the next few weeks, we might see a very interesting shift in the Titanfall 2 meta, especially given what is changing with the light chassis Titans as well. We can see here that both Ronin and Northstar are receiving dash regeneration buffs. If this is anything in the ballpark of 20% or above, they are going to become even more slippery than they are at the moment, and it may help Northstar rise to prominence, especially alongside the other Northstar buff, which I think will make the flight core actually viable, as opposed to just turning yourself into a flying beacon that everyone shoots at. Scorch will also display his projectile trajectory while ADS. I think this is quite a good idea and something that I'll enjoy. Finally, there were only 3 weapon changes this time around. The Devotion is on the chopping block. decreasing overall accuracy and range, which to be honest it probably deserves. The Archer missile launcher has its tracking fixed a bit, and the MLG is reduced in effectiveness slightly, so hopefully we will start to see some different anti-Titan weapons going around. All of this material will have to be tested when the update finally drops, but until then, what do you guys think of the patch notes? I'll leave the link in the comments, so please tell us what you think, and subscribe for more updates from 4FS Gaming.